Yay, welcome. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see all of you here at the Mango Publishing Wisdom Panel. And I'm Sherry Richert Belul, author of Say It Now, 33 Creative Ways to Say I Love You to the most important people in your life. And oh my gosh, today I've been so looking forward to this. We have Sue Patton Thoele and Mary Ann M. Radmacher. Or is it Radmacher?
Radmacher.
Radmacher. As soon as I said that, I thought so. And we are going to be talking about living gently with great strength. And this is, as Em pointed out before a lot of you came on, we're celebrating the release. Sue, do you want to hold it up? The release of your book, Women's Book of Strength, Meditations for Wisdom, Balance, and Power. And that's what inspired the topic today. And I just quickly, before we launch in, wanted to read just something very short from Sue's book that really jumped out at me. The mighty and loving power of feminine strength is needed in order to civilize and humanize our dangerously out of balance world. It's up to us. We are the world's hope, and we can do it. I just love that really positive. I think that's at the very beginning of your book, and it just felt so uplifting to me. And so I'm going to have in just a minute, Sue and Em will introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their work. But first, Sue has graciously offered to get us here into the moment with we're going to do a little meditation?
Basically, it's really more just a practice of presence.
Awesome.
Okay. So I was thinking today that Sherry had said to get us centered in our hearts, and I thought, what better way to do that maybe than to just be present with them. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and notice. You can put your hands over your heart if you'd like to. Just notice, think about, pay attention to your heart. And there may be a question that arises for your heart. There may be gratitude, and there may just be being together, because our hearts are awesome physically, but when you think of all they do to inspire us, give us the reason to do the things we do, to love. So for now, I'm going to be quiet, and I just want you to spend this minute in whatever way you and your heart want. And now be aware of your presence with your heart, the quality that you experienced when you were paying attention and being present. Absorb that, embrace it, chuckle with it, dance with it, love it. And then allow yourself to move your attention to your breath and take like 3 breaths and open your eyes.
Sue, that was beautiful. I almost
Thank you.
hate to break our silence. It was
I just wanted to say something fun. When I was thinking about my heart and just looking at it, then I began to see these little rainbow colored butterflies coming out of it. I think it was inspired by your bookshelf, Bree.
Thank you.
oh, that is fun. I was thinking that it's such a gift to be invited, first of all, to just close our eyes and to, put our hands on our hearts or to feel our hearts. I just thought, imagine if that happened more frequently, for all of us. Like, yeah, it was just such a beautiful gift. So Sue, how about if we start with you and then we'll have Em introduce herself. But if you just want to tell us about your work, your book, anything that's top of mind right now for you about strength and gentleness.
I think I've introduced myself to most of you, I think, and of course Brenda and I go way back, and Tiffin and I go way back. I knew Tiffin way before I ever became an author. I think right now I'm just really, in terms of strength and gentleness, I've always known that I was strong, but I also was taught, or I felt like I was taught. I thought it was proper to cover up my own strength and to highlight other people's strengths and other people of both sexes, but mainly the impetus that I felt like I was given was to emphasize the masculine strength and really, be kind of in awe of it and downplay my own. And oh boy, that's changed over the decades. Thank God. And I'm just really, really thankful that I got to get this old, because it hasn't been that long. So, and one of the things, contrarily, is that my motto has been for a long time, live gently with yourself and others. And as I really began to embody that, my strength sort of naturally rose. And in my life, it's a necessity now. The roles that I'm playing in my family, especially my nuclear little bitty family, dog, cat, husband, person, me, those roles are changing. So my strength is being called forth, and I find that it's much more available the more gently I treat myself and other people. So I loved your title that you came up with, Sherry, Living Gently with Great Strength. That, I just think it really kind of rang my chimes. So thank you for that.
Well, of course, I was inspired by you and your work, right? And I don't know if this is the time, or we want to wait till after Em introduces herself, but I'm very curious to know, when you say that, the more that you're living gently with yourself and others, the more your strength grows, because that, I think, is a fascinating thing.
Well, to be really, really honest, I pretty much always live gently with other people. It's the more of the challenges to do so with myself. And that old adage that you can, about the plant, like your mint, Brenda, if it didn't have a good place to grow, it wouldn't probably have decided to do that, or been, spontaneously wanting to gift you. And I think the gentler we are with ourselves, which is the tricky part, the better the soil is for us to really bloom and grow and bring forth whatever it is that we're called to bring forth.
Thank you, Sue.
Mhm.
Hello, Em.
Hello. I'll introduce myself by saying this. I was hired once first to speak to hundreds of people at a very significant multi-sided building in Washington, D.C. And I laugh a lot. I have a big smile. I don't own but one suit and don't generally wear suits when I teach and present. And my audience on this first visit was 60% active military, 30% retired military, and 10% ordinary citizens, non-military individuals. And I had learned by that time in my life that your strength cannot be in what you say about who you know or where you've been. And so when I first walked into the room, the uniforms were, very apparent to me. And I said, hello, thank you for having me here today. There is absolutely nothing that I can tell you that you don't already know. And there's nothing in the world that qualifies me to teach you anything. So at the end of our time together, if you have managed to extract some unique value from what I have to share with you, I'll call that a success for both of us. And it just, the gentleness disarmed their, who is this short, blonde, smiling bit of a citizen that has been brought in to speak to us. And I was asked back several more times. And the strength that I felt like I was a dog rolling over and showing my belly in a gentle, have at it kind of, just the sign of submission for their service. And I really meant it. So that is my way of telling you who I am and how I navigate with strength and gentleness.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So let's launch in. I feel like we've already sort of covered a lot of territory just because, and this is the reason I was so excited about having you two here, is that you both, like, to me, embody what we're talking about today. And at least that's how I see it. And I think that that's one of the most important things about it, right? Is that sense of just by who you are and already what you've shared with us, I think we're all getting a sense. But to go a little bit deeper, I mean, this has been a time, right? Like, we started these Heart Wisdom panels more than 2 years ago now. At the time, when the pandemic first started, but little did we know, like, there would be so much other, we said, heart wisdom for difficult times and to help people through challenges, but wow. So can we just sort of start there? It's a hard time. People are grieving, people are angry, people are feeling flattened. How can this topic support people? And Sue, let's start back with you.
Okay, there's a sentence from the Course in Miracles that I read a zillion years ago, and it's in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I think that's exactly what Em was talking about. And that's, I think, one of the places where the gentleness works. If we can be gentle with ourselves, and that helps us not move. I just had an experience this morning, and somebody asked me a question that they really shouldn't have asked me. It wasn't ethical. And I answered truthfully, and they went, you, and pulled back from me. And I could feel myself getting defensive. And so I must admit that while I was in their presence, I didn't get out of that either, but I knew I was in it. And I didn't do anything that I'm ashamed of or anything, but when I got back in the car, it was necessary for me to reassure myself and to tell myself that in what I said and what it intimated, I was being in line with my own integrity. And it was just, it's really, in my opinion, just being a good friend. I bet $1 million that every one of you is a good friend. And when we move that energy into that beautiful symbol of the energy just doing this and crossing at one point, when that energy of friendship incorporates ourselves, there's really not as much need to be defensive, because we're safe. We're safe if we are our own good friend.
I love that. We're safe if we're our own good friend.
We are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm curious, if I know that you brought us something to read, and I'm wondering, somehow I have the sense that, is this a good time?
Sure. I very carefully put my glasses someplace where I wouldn't. Yeah, this is funny, you guys, because I opened the book at random today to see what I would read. And I did it with my left hand and I did it with my right hand. And I decided that I would do the one that I chose with my left hand, because it's, of course, right brain. And it's entitled Asking What's Good for You. And Sherry opened to that exact same one, just to dive into the book today, just for a little sampling. So asking what's good for you. And I think that I'll just tell the story that goes with this writing, but one afternoon, I was really feeling tired, and I asked myself that question, what would be good for me right now? And a little nap was what came up. So I took my dog and I went in the guest room and I laid down, and the dog was shivering. And she just was a little bitty one, but her shivers were pretty huge. And then my husband came in to get her because he wanted to take her for a walk. And then he got her ready outside of the door. There was no napping that happened, but I will go on from the story. So there was only 10 minutes left of my half hour I had given myself. As you can imagine, I did not peacefully nod off in the remaining 10 minutes. After the annoyance passed, I chuckled, guessing you'd probably be able to relate to my aborted foray into asking what was good for myself. Even so, asking what's good for you is a wonderfully self-compassionate habit to adopt. However, depending on how many responsibilities and obligations you shoulder, it may also be one you need to be very, very committed to in order not to become discouraged when what's good for you doesn't sit well with what others think is good for them. While we often chuckle and nod our heads in rueful agreement when seeing the adage, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, on a t-shirt or a plaque, in most families, mama is the happy maker. And I'd expand that into many relationships. The feminine is the happy maker. How can an unhappy maker help anyone else be happy? Simply the energy of an unhappy feminine is enough to dampen the atmosphere in most homes / relationships. And there's more to that particular reading, but the idea of it was what got me. When I started to really honor and be a good friend to myself, the sentence I would use was, well, what do I want and need right now? And somehow that didn't work nearly as well as what's good for me right now. You know, what's good for me right now? It might not be what I want. It probably is what I need. As I told you guys, I'm just coming off a bout with COVID, a light bout. But during that time, there was some behavior toward me that was not great. And I said to myself, what's good for me right now? Is it good for me to bring this up right now? And the answer was no, because I just didn't have the energy. The energy was all directed to healing. Now, there came a time toward the end of the bout where what was good for me was confronting and gently, once more, because belly up is best. I like that, Em. That's cool. Belly up is best usually. And it went very, very well. But it was a different sort of tone. What's good for me right now? Because the reality of it is, what is good for you is probably going to be better for whomever you're needing to or wanting to relate with too.
Em, I see you shaking your head. Was there something you wanted to say around that?
In the short term, it's rarely good for the other person. When you choose what's good for you in the immediate, but in the longer term, so true. And
when you say good for them, you mean comfortable for them?
Well, you said when I choose what's good for me, it's good for the other person too. And I was thinking, not immediately.
I think you're right.
But in the long term, because you're building the trust of the relationship, and you are also modeling excellent behavior. When you choose what's not good for you, but what's good for someone else, you're teaching them to ultimately abuse you or use you, or at the very least treat you less than what is appropriate. So it takes a real strength to not give in to that. What will they think of me if I choose this, not that? We're so oriented to check in with the opinions of others. I mean, there are people who make buying decisions solely upon the opinions of other people. And that's how our culture teaches us to behave. And it takes a great deal of personal strength to use Byron Katie's phrase, what you think of me is none of my business.
We've also, in my era anyway, we were taught to appease.
Yes.
That was a very embedded behavior.
May I read my selection?
Please do. We'd love it. By the way, tell us what book you're reading from.
This is the original Strength Meditations for Wisdom, Balance, and Power. And I too, Bree, organized my primary bookshelf by color. This book lives, you'll understand this. This book lives in the bathroom. It doesn't live on a shelf, because this book is a grab and go. I didn't do it on purpose. It happened accidentally. If you are a reader like I am with a book such as yours, Sue, I don't start at the beginning. I pause and open randomly. I may not read the first paragraph. I read where my eyes fall. And it's almost always mystically exactly what I need. I love it. Choosing to be present. I believe we want to satisfy the needs and longing of those we care about, really see them and intimately know them. But how do we actually know what their needs, delights, and longings are if we don't regularly choose to be completely present to them? The good news is most of us are suck 'em up sponges when it comes to presence. Just a few minutes of eye contact, full attention, face-to-face concentration between friends or lovers or kids and parents can fill us to the brim. I think that's why having coffee or doing lunch is so popular and necessary, especially for women. In those settings, we are present for each other. Texts and Snapchats are great for touching base, but are not the satiating, full facial connecting of true presence. Today, I was having a swear-a-thon hissy fit over a technical issue, and my hubby, Gene, was my captive audience. He lowered the paper, looked me square in the face, and just listened with a little smile. He chose to be absolutely present for about a minute and a half. I had been heard, seen, and held in his gaze, and it appeared, enjoyed. It was enough. This full minute of undivided attention approach can also be magically effective with kids of all ages. Speaking of kids, this is so funny, Sue, that you do this all the time. I love it. Their gelled hairstyles have given new life to Brill Cream, so I've adapted Brill Cream's ancient jingle to presence. A little dabble, do ya? Now, I chose that randomly, but wouldn't it appear that it was pre-selected based upon how this conversation has gone?
Mhm.
Yeah, your work is just like that, Sue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. For sure. And I've also recently as yesterday and the day before that, I've been having a swear-a-thon due to technical issues, and admitted it publicly on a video that's been shared now hundreds of times. And it takes a real strength to tell the truth about your experience, whether you're a nonfiction author or a teacher. It doesn't matter what it is you do for a living. Being candid about the less sparkly bits of your experience takes a very specific kind of courage. Do you see that differently, Sue?
No, not at all. I know I was kind of hearkening back to the reference to lunches and being in each other's presence, and I think that's really one of the shredding things that has happened in these 2 years, is that inability to be as present and as close and as touchy and as eye contacty, because there's something different about a screen, and there's a presence in personal. Just the energy is different. And so I think that's been one of our huge challenges. How do we take care of ourselves when we're not have the ability to really hug and hold? I, like, a friend of mine and I were having a porch visit the other day, and she said, not hugging anybody. And right now I'm not hugging anybody. And when she left, she said, okay, I'm hugging you. Because she just, and I think that was her taking care of herself.
Yeah.
Because we can have those edicts for ourselves, and they may be very wise and very necessary. But if it doesn't feel right, then to give ourselves permission is probably really important. And as far as being honest with people, and there isn't a person among us who probably hasn't had a swear-a-thon in terms of technology. I think just the honesty, it harkens back to me, am I safe with myself? Can I share this kind of stuff with people because I've got my own back? Yeah, I saw a thing. I was at the orthopedic guys this morning, and they have those scrolling things on the computers while you're waiting for them. And one of them was, before you can soar, you have to learn to fly, FLY, first love yourself. And I'd never really seen it said like that. And I thought, how cool is that? You know, that's cool, because I do believe that is one of our most major challenges, because from the loving ourselves and having our own backs and being our best friends comes the ability to be safe enough to be honest, to show our strengths, to speak up for ourselves when we need to. I wrote the introduction to strength in a place where I was just bereft about the lack of balance in the masculine and feminine. I just happened to be writing that introduction when there was a mass shooting in 10 miles away from me in one of our King Super stores. And the visceral feeling of going to that memorial around the store, and the visceral feeling of the young man who perpetrated those murders, and the fact that his mental health is just screwed, that out of balance between the shadow masculine and the compassionate feminine. I was just pouring blood all over the place in terms of how I felt about that. So that's the birth of this book, was the feeling in myself that has to come into being, the balance of the masculine and feminine, before we're going to be able to solve these things, before we kill our planet, before we kill more kiddos, so that's, I don't remember why I started on this. But it was from, I guess it was maybe honesty. It was from that honest place of knowing that I had to do something that felt like it could maybe make a little bit of difference.
Brenda, were you going to jump in? Oh, but you're muted. You're muted.
Okay. Yeah, I did want to jump in because Sue's as always, like touching on something that's like just vital to us all. But you'll remember, several of you will remember that like we had a Heart Wisdom recently with David Kuntz, who's the author of Nothing's Wrong, the book about men and feelings. And like, I was just so upset about what had happened at the grocery store in New York, that like, I just brought it up and like, just went there. And, I was talking about like, it's young men and boys, like it mostly are the perpetrators, like what is happening, and like, but that was a really deep and beautiful, and Heart Wisdom, I felt like I really got some real answers, like from everybody in the discussion. And then I was thinking about, as an editor, what do I need to do? I have like a little place in my mind for it. I call it the boy problem, the boy crisis. I just think we have a boy crisis in our culture. And so then when the next thing happened in Vivaldi, and then like a couple of days later, I wrote Dr. John Duffy, who's been, you know, a Heart Wisdom favorite, and hopefully will be back soon. And I just went there and I spilled out like all my concerns and fears. And I said, you know, can we, you know, I feel like you have many answers because like you're that's what you do. You're a psychologist to teens and tweens. And I know you're really an expert on men and boys and like what we can do as a society, what can we do as parents and friends and family. And so he and I are in dialogue about like that book. And so, you know, I just wanted to just sort of share that like we have these heart wisdoms that are like beautiful in the moment and have many, many, many takeaways. And for me, like I, you know, ask questions of the authors and everyone here. And then I want to go back to like, you know, Mango and bring books that are really going to help our culture. So I guess I just wanted to like say that like I'm listening, I'm taking notes as an editor, I'm drinking in the wisdom, and I just want to be able to help people because I feel like it's like such a crisis. And I feel like, you know, is what we talked about 2 weeks ago with the, you know, David Kunson and his knowledge about how men and boys aren't taught how to process their feelings, and they can come out in violence, and we're seeing it almost every single day. And so I'm just like, what can I do about it? Not me personally, I can't stop it, but maybe through authors and our books, maybe we can make a difference. So I just wanted to sort of share that. And so, you know, I know it seems like a little gathering like every week, but like the Heart Wisdom hopefully can help heal our culture in little ways and big.
Oh, Brenda, I'm so glad that you just said that, because actually I was making that same connection, because what really struck me in that previous panel was when he said that young boys and young men are not, they're just not, there's no mentors to show them how to feel their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm relating that to you know, what Em and Sue were saying. And I just wanted to read something else quick that seems like it fits in, that is in Sue's book, which is, to truly right the wrongs privately and publicly, we must embrace the heartfelt feminine strengths of inclusivity, compassion, fairness, understanding, and the ability to be present and listen. And, you know, that we call those feminine strengths, but it's like, it's true, right? That we need, that these young men, I feel, right, need to be brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so glad that you brought that up, Brenda. And I'm curious, does anybody else want to jump in with anything connecting the dots or questions for our authors?
I have a question for Krishna, who is a man and a very good man and a heartful one. But he grew up in the UK and England, and I know, like, you know, like, what is the difference like between cultures? Like, what is it like from your point of view? Because you've lived both places, and I'm sure you have thoughts.
Well, I mean, I guess going back to like shootings, the first thing in my mind is that there's gun control there. Basically,
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. There's
Mm-hmm.
gun control, so people aren't walking around with guns like they are here. So that's probably the bottom line there. But other than that, yeah, culturally, I think it's a crisis there too. Even though you don't get the shootings, the crime rate is still way too high for boys and young males too.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe not as much as here, but that might be just because it's a smaller country. But there is the problem there. It's not just this country, I don't think. So it's a worldwide epidemic, I would think. because people in Britain are also growing up. It's a very kind of, it's still Northern Europe, which is basically you just man up and you don't show your feelings or anything like that. It still has that kind of mentality, sadly. Like I feel when I moved here, I feel that I changed a lot and evolved from that. I mean, the fact that I was raising a daughter from the age of 10 to, well, actually 9 to 18, pretty much all by myself. I think I embraced a lot of feminine energy as being a single parent to a girl and surrounded by really great women. I think that helped me a lot personally. I don't know if that answered your question at all, but
it did. And then it reminded me to tell you guys that like another Heart Wisdom favorite, Fred Guttenberg, he has turned in a manuscript that is about like what to do about the gun issues very specifically. So we don't have like a pub date for that yet. I think it'll probably be early next year, but like Fred has become like this incredible like voice of comfort to the parents who've lost parents and family members. He's on TV constantly and has become like sort of a comforter for families with the loss. I mean, it's just yes. But anyway, so thank you, Heart Wisdom. We're doing what we can.
And what, oh, go ahead, Em, sure, hop in.
I see you. I see you. I worked in a prison as a volunteer, and they trained me what to do if a prisoner that was released stalked you, which happens more than I'd like to admit. I see you is what you are to do when you are being stalked. To have the strength and the gentleness to turn around to your stalker and say, eye to eye, I see you. It dissipates the fear that they're trying to generate. The prisoners that I worked with, their commonality, one of many, was that no one saw them when they were children. They were invisible. They were unsupervised, unseen, and unrespected. And so when I'm working, having a conversation about kindness in the world, and I said, kindness is grand, strength is great. Let's be specific about what that means. And one of the things that we can do for the young boys and girls in our country who are invisible, who are not respected as whole beings because they're just a kid. When you're in the grocery store and you see a kid struggling or uncertain, you say hello and you say, I see you and I'm glad I've seen you today. Even if they look a little threatening or like you might want to head the other way, it takes a certain kind of strength to stop in the moment and be present to that human and let them know that you see them there.
I have to say, I mean, this always happens, right, with this Heart Wisdom panel, is these crazy, beautiful synergies and what is the word? Synchrodestinies.
Synchrodestiny, yeah.
But I'm a part of a group. I host a group called the Secret Agents of Change, and we do secret kindness projects in the world. And we have one tomorrow. Linda, cover your ears because I'm going to reveal the prompt, and I know you're going to be there. But tomorrow, what we're doing is it's about that. It's about, it's secret out in the world. Nobody knows you're doing it, but to see people, to see them as humans, to see them as, and I'm going to make, because of what you just said, I'm going to give that special caveat about young people, but to stop and to, this isn't just someone in a store. This isn't just someone that, is passing on the street. These are scared, human beings, we're all walking around with so much. And so I love that you said that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel. Hi there. I see you.
I just have to say something so funny right now because of those synchrodestinies. I just published a piece today called "The Problem with Feeling Unseen and Unheard."
Oh
Just
my
is out
gosh.
today. And the podcast comes out on Friday.
Oh my
We
gosh.
belong together, don't we? Like, it's so beautiful.
I didn't believe when I was here. I was like, the exact words, really?
Mhm.
Just amazing. I love these panels.
So Rachel, if people had the strength to genuinely see someone, what kind of difference does that make?
Well, and it's huge, but we have to think about it. How many times, even in our own households, do we feel unseen and unheard? You know, and if we feel unseen and unheard, it's hard for us to see and hear another. If we're stuck in our trauma, we're seeing our reflection off of them, but not seeing them.
Hmm.
So
Was
it's
your
such a good
piece
thing to
more,
do. What was
is
that?
your piece more explanatory, or did you
Oh,
have
yes.
some suggestions, or?
It goes deep, and then next week is about how to help see and hear ourselves. So yeah.
Do you have a word of wisdom for us?
When we are trying to see and hear others, be present, we have to be self-aware with ourselves, because we cannot see them. If we are if we're comparing and thinking of our story, we can't see them.
Mhm.
Because all of our experiences are so different. You know, we can have a similar experience in a moment, a similar thing can happen to us, but our upbringing, our education, our past experiences all play into what we are feeling in that moment. And if we're like cutting people off and not letting them express how they feel, then they won't feel seen and heard in that moment. So it's practice I'm trying to get better at. Listening
Mhm.
with love is the series. So it's I'm
Mhm.
trying to get better at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, Linda, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I have to remind myself sometimes that it's important that one person at a time part, seeing someone or listening to someone, because we're not all going to write books that are going to change lots of hearts and minds, but we can change one heart at a time with each interaction that we have. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes, because I get very impatient about wanting this shift to happen. And, you know, can we do it now? Can we do it today? Because that'd be great. And it doesn't happen like that. And so finding ways to be patient, it really helps me to come back to that. One heart at a time is how we're really going to make progress. You know, me thinking about listening to somebody that maybe I wouldn't have been inclined to listen to, or seeing somebody that I hadn't seen before, haven't given them the gift of seeing them before. So yeah, sometimes it's just little steps.
Oh, Linda. Yeah, I love that. And it's reminding me, I was just recently in a part of California that it has very different political views than where I live, and a place where I would typically, you know, no, you know, I don't like that. But I've been practicing too, right? Like it sounds like a lot of us practicing really showing up with the person in front of me with love, and just fell in love with everyone I met. And it's that process of seeing this person, you know, talking about their children, you know, talking about their, you know, farm, like just those little human connections that we all have, you know. So I love that you just brought that up. I'm aware that we only have about 5 minutes left. I'm always so sad as we head into the end of our panels, but Em is going to close our circle, but before we do that, I just want to bring it back to both of you, Sue and Em, to see, did you have any last minute thoughts before we have to close?
I do. I just wanted to thank Linda for that little sentence, one heart at a time. I love that. Thank you.
Hmm.
Mm.
Thank you.
And I'll expand on that for you, Sue, because I happen to know that is Linda's motto for her business. That she holds herself to that connecting point with potential customers, that she's not going to get 1,572 clients all on one day. But if she connects heart to heart, one heart at a time, that's how she's going to live her life and build her business. I hope you don't mind me sharing a business secret of yours, Linda. Would you like me to read
Yes.
my-
I'd like you to do whatever you want to do right now, Em.
I wrote this for our gathering when Sherry asked me to close it. And it, I love these panels too. We could do it all day long. I am strong. It looks like many different things from the outside looking in. That is a view that cannot concern me. That disregard for how I appear to others is part of what makes me so strong. I have core strength, not the kind that lets me easily do sit-ups, but strong at my core that allows me a voice to speak up and a force to stand up. I may not be able to load bags of cement into the back of your car, but I am strong enough to carry your grief for a time, to carry you to the well so you can have water. I am strong enough to bear the burden of your disapproval, of false narratives, betrayal, and unexpected losses. I am relentless in my creativity. I am dedicated to the try again. I am strong. I love you.
You are, that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I can't believe you wrote that just for us. It's like, what a gift. What a gift.
Thank you. And so you are all strong. And I would encourage you, while you're in the aura of this community, to just put your pen to paper and put across the top of it, I am strong, and see what happens next. Bye.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I really want to thank both, Em and Sue. What a beautiful conversation. And Brenda and everyone from Mango, thank you. We wouldn't be here without you, of course. And I hope people have noticed that Bree's been putting the links to Em and Sue's books in the chat. And we're here every week. John Duffy is coming back in a couple weeks. And next week, we also have a great panel coming up. So come back. It makes a difference. I love seeing you. Your presence makes a difference. Your smiles make a difference. Take that out in the world. Gentle strength.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Mwah. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.